Welcome to DM Commentary, Segment 16. I'm Chris Perkins. DM tip number 527, be transparent. I was quick to tell Dan what the likely consequences of failing to disable the magic circle were.
Challenging circle. You certainly. Yeah, exactly.
And I also tell him how many successes are needed to succeed at the skill challenge.
You described it as really complex.
Yeah, it is.
Likewise, I tell the players when they're fighting minions and when they're not.
6 to succeed.
The reason I do this is because I like them to be aware of exactly what they're trying to achieve.
Well, let's start taking down these minions.
All right.
If I didn't tell them how many successes they needed to complete the skill challenge, I'd lose some of the dramatic tension because they wouldn't know how far they had to go to succeed.
Okay. This might be an interesting ability for you. It's called Recuperating Strike.
Okay.
Basically, it says you make an attack. If the attack hits, you deal damage and you gain temporary hit points equal to
And DM tip number Y. I have totally lost track of the DM tips and my numbering system for them, so don't sweat it. Another good DM tip is don't show all your cards. I deliberately kept some of the monsters hidden. I wanted the players to think that the orc skeletons were the only direct threat. But I dropped a hint in the previous segment, which was the flapping wings, that there was some other danger present as well. And if one of the players had asked where the sound was coming from, I probably would have had them make a perception check to discern that the flapping wing sound was coming from the fissures on the far side of the room.
Spilling out through the vents in the walls are a bunch of creatures that look like this. They have 4 sets of wings and a long pointed proboscis. Graboids. That's an awesome movie.
Right?
No, they're not graboids. Sturges are iconic D&D monsters. They've been around since first edition, and I wanted to make sure that we had some iconic monsters for them to fight in this adventure. Now, the encounter could have unfolded in a couple different ways. The players could have completely ignored the magic circle, waited till the end of the combat. The circle isn't going anywhere and isn't hurting anyone right now. So they could leave it alone for the time being and just focus on the monsters. As you're going to find out, the circle does distract them a bit.
And the minions haven't attacked one single time.
And I had no idea going in whether or not they would fight the monsters and then solve the skill challenge of the magic circle, or if they would end up doing what they did in the trap room, and that is having one or more characters farting around with the circle, while the rest of the characters are holding off the monsters. This is where Steel Diamond learns how much Sturges suck.
Use them so they lash out.
And boy, do they suck a lot of blood out of him.
These would lash out at anything in front of them.
One of them rolls a 16 versus your armor class.
Versus my armor class, which is a 17. Take
That misses. The second one rolls a 19, which will hit. It will do. It attaches you, does 1 point of damage. But now it is latched onto you.
That's not appropriate.
And it sticks its big proboscis through your flesh.
It's latched onto you. It follows you to the.
Proboscis sounds cooler than stick his nose through your flesh.
And that's it for them.
So if I move, it comes with me. It's not in that
Yes,
square.
correct. It is
which
now.
Which one was it?
This one. He's your buddy.
Dude, my birth was foretold in a prophecy.
So was mine. Wow.
Look at that. Then
we were all had a
immediately after that, these guys charge.
Wow, look at that map. Look at all the figures on that map. I might have gone a little bit crazy, but that's okay. It was the big encounter. I made the room really big because I wanted to fill it with monsters. I tend to go a little crazy with minions, using more of them than I probably should. But they're like popcorn. And players always feel great about killing them. There were 11 orc skeletons and a whole flock of Sturges. I can't remember exactly how many Sturges there were. There may have been like 8.
All right. They rush up. Oh my gosh, Bard's in a bad way.
This is my plan.
It's all
Brilliant.
coming together.
Absolutely brilliant.
This is probably a good time to talk about
Attacks against you
my
will be
miniatures
first.
coffin.
1 is going to hit, 2 is going to hit, and 1's going to miss.
Under my desk in my office, I have a storage unit which basically looks like a big blue
Horrible roll.
trunk
9 versus AC.
made of plastic.
Okay.
But it's
3 on the
pretty
guard.
much the size of a coffin. It's about 5 feet long,
That's
about
a
2.5 feet
13
deep, and
versus
about,
AC.
I don't know, 2.5 feet, 3 feet tall.
A second one misses. The
There's
third
no
one's
compartments
4
inside it,
points of damage.
nothing.
So there go your
It is
temporary
just
points.
a coffin.
So you're-
And
you're
it
back
is
to full.
full of pre-painted plastic miniatures that I have acquired.
There's a lot of bad guys. Yeah, you
And
four,
I have
but
tried on numerous occasions to organize them into smaller little kits. And I do have a few smaller containers
I have you
containing
at 3.
minis that I use all the time, like goblins and hobgoblins and humans and
From damage.
archers and things like that, skeletons. But for the most part, my miniatures collection is just this huge plastic wad inside this big giant coffin-shaped container. And every time I need to go find something specific, I have to drag this thing out and dive into it,
Well, I can move 6 spaces.
fish around.
Do dire Wolverine.
Sometimes I have to dump half of it, pour through it all, and then put everything back. It is the simplest and most ridiculous miniature storage solution I could have possibly come up with.
3, 4, 5.
I'm good.
Okay.
So you're using. All right.
And one of these days I should just take a camcorder or something and just video it because it's obscene.
And it's +7 on each attack, and you do a D8 plus 4.
Speaking of promises, I still have to put up that list that I promised from an earlier segment of character names, so that if you ever need an NPC name for a dwarf or a tiefling or a dragonborn or a halfling or an elf or whatever, you can just look at the list. I will do that.
15 is not going to hit that skeleton, but you get a second attack on this guy.
All right. 6.
+7 is 13, and that's not going to hit him either.
This is the first real combat of the adventure. Up to this point, they negotiated with the arcane ballista, they overcame some traps, and they fought the Shadowhunter bat, which was just this single monster.
So you're basically done.
But this is the first real chance for them to sort of spread out across the room and wail on things with their weapons.
I know you
Have
are.
lured all of them into my trap.
Okay.
I am going to enact a burning spray, which hits each creature within 3 squares of me.
Okay. Just before you do that, it sucks some blood out of you,
Yeah, that's fine.
to the tune of 4 points of damage.
Okay. Would that sucker be included with the damage?
Here we get to see monsters that deal damage at the start of characters' turns,
Now, had he... Could
which
I...
is kind of a new concept for new to 4th edition anyway.
Okay.
If I can still do that. I got 2 of these.
Yeah,
'cause I
we'll
never
jump back.
That there are monsters in the game now that essentially act on characters' turns.
only gonna help. I want to do action point. So then do I re-roll?
And it's a really subtle thing, but actually it does amazing things for kind of the flow of the game, that monsters don't just act on their turns anymore.
Totally could do that.
It makes the combats feel a little bit more organic, I think.
Shield, no, I don't have any multiple enemy attacks anymore. So let's do Shield of Blade.
Shield of Blades is all about, well, this is a single creature, but it lets you attack it, and then if you hit it, you get a bonus to your defenses, +2 to your AC.
It's a veritable shield of blades.
Yes. So you become harder to hit after you attack.
Great.
It's +7 on your D20 roll to try to hit it.
Okay. And I'll be going for the guy closest to the rune.
Got it?
10.
+7 is 17?
17.
That hits him, and he explodes.
Boom.
His bones go scattered all over the place. Nothing seems to happen when his bones cross the circle.